video. This week I'm driving the 2023 Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing. And man, oh man, do I still love this thing. It's been about a year and a half since I was on the launch event for this vehicle and got to take it around VIR and lap it all afternoon and drive both this and the manual version. This is the automatic I have here today. And anyway, so I got to spend a whole week with this thing here, and it has been a non-stop just giggle fest, basically, is what this comes down to, especially in the winter, because this one was delivered to me with Pirelli Soto Zero winter tires, and they went down in width. So typically you get 275s in the front and 305s in the rear, and they're Michelin Pilot Sport, 4S tires. Not so here. So with these winter tires, obviously a lot less grip, and they're 265 in the front and 295 in the rear. So even less meat and, a much sloppier tread, so obviously I'm filming this here in the Northeast in winter time, so totally expect them to deliver it with snow tires, but it just really reveals this whole different character to this car that it did not have before. So when I first did the CT5 Blackwing review, it was really grippy. I mean, obviously the summer tires make all the difference, but it just really was so composed and very, very sharp, and it still is all those things here. But of course, with these snow tires, I've been just mostly managing the back end all week with this thing, but it's hilarious fun. It's really just like a more sophisticated, faster, sharper Hellcat whenever you're on snow tires, at least. That's just an animal. But anyway, we're coming to the corners here that I always take in my reviews. Let's see how this thing handles. Again, winter tires that are skinnier, but it still handles so well. And I was just admiring the handling all week, even with these tires. It is so impressive. It's just like hardwired to your brain with what you want it to do, and it does it. It's really impressive. And honestly, so there's obviously the magnetic ride control 4.0. There's a bunch of different drive modes. But I just left it in the sport mode because honestly, it's not even that stiff in the sport mode, and I just love the settings that they had in the sport mode. I did also play around with the V mode, and I softened up the suspension all the way and then cranked everything else up for the most part just to try and, try out a different thing. But honestly, the sport mode just, to me, was the Goldilocks that I really loved, and I love that it also retains that between key cycles. So whenever you turn the car off and back on, you're still in that sport mode, which is rare. Most of the other vehicles, you gotta always press buttons every time you get in and start it up every day. Not so with this. And so I love that it saves that all the time. I hop in, hit the engine start button, and it's ready to go every time, and has all my favorite settings saved. I love that. Other things here that I really loved. So the 10-speed automatic, I do have a new appreciation for it. Now I will say that with the manual mode here, the shifts still, I mean, they're quick enough, but if you want to shift your CT5-V Blackwing manually, just get the actual manual transmission, which would still be my pick, but this 10-speed is ferociously fast, and but I mean, every time I just stab the gas, I just go sideways immediately. It is so funny. Oh, I love this thing. But anyway, sorry, I'm going to be really repetitive in this video. I'm just gushing the whole time because it just blows me away. This is hands down one of my favorite cars ever to be made. But anyway, back to the manual shifting. It's still fine. But honestly, you're better off just leaving it in automatic mode, and it still does a really good job of always figuring out, what gear you need to be in really, really quickly. And like I said in my full review, it's very intelligent with the way that it can predict what you need and what it should give you as far as whether it should do a super hard fast shift or if it should slow it down for the sake of, stability and actually putting power to the ground. It can figure all that stuff out, and it's very smart. So I've just left it in drive most of the week here, and it's wild. But I mean, this thing, so I didn't really drive it in any actual snow, but I did drive it in rain, and then I drove it on very cold roads. And either way, I mean, this thing, it's a handful though. So I will say, if you are planning to daily drive one of these and you do encounter some weather, yes, it is totally doable on the snow tires. I just wouldn't, drive it in a ton of snow because it still wants to spin the tires every chance it gets. I mean, there was even times where I was like maybe a quarter throttle, probably even a little bit less than that, and I would just like give it a little tap there, quarter throttle, coming out of a corner, and even that would send it into a very minor little, slide. And so it's really hilarious how drifty this thing will be if you, have loose enough tires on it. It is just wild, wild fun. And so, I mean, yeah, it just blew me away just how much fun this thing is, though. I mean, every single time I hopped in this, every single time without fail, it made me giggle on every single drive. It was one of those cars, and this is rare, but it's one of the rare cars where I'm even giggling as I'm walking away from it at the end of a drive and going into the house. It's just like one of those cars I like think back and I'm giggling just at the memories of the feelings this thing gave me. It is truly a special, epic, you know, unforgettable car. And, you know, I think that the automatic also amplifies that. The manual is gratifying in a different way, but this automatic really just rips your head off with this powertrain, and just it's mind-blowingly fast, and really just constantly knocked my socks off here. Another thing though I do want to mention for those of you that are considering, you know, ordering one of these and shopping around for them, I also have to add that you know, I did use the regular brakes. This one does not have the carbon ceramics. This has the regular brakes on it, and they did a really good job all week, and I was pretty impressed with just how, you know, strong they felt, even though they aren't the carbon ceramics. The non-carbon ceramics here are just a tiny bit smaller. It's very, very minor, so, you know, you're not giving up much here by not going for the carbon ceramics, at least as long as you don't need that track durability that the carbon ceramics offer. But we'll do another acceleration here because I want to accelerate every single opportunity I have in this thing. So here we go. Instantly lights up the tires, lights them up again, and then lights them up a third time. This thing, I think I actually love it better on crappy tires. I didn't think it could get any better, but I think this just makes it hilarious. Oh my gosh, this thing is, it's just amazing. Here we go, more sliding, more craziness. And honestly, I haven't even turned off traction control. If I turned off traction control and just let this thing roast these tires, it would be even more of a handful. But I also have to commend the Cadillac engineers for programming this stability control system in the traction control to not only keep this thing in line, but to also still give me enough slip to have fun with without letting me kill myself. You know, so the sport mode, it does give you a little bit extra leniency there, but you know, it's not so much that it is a total buzzkill or anything. I'm still having plenty of fun even with all the nannies on, but it still is enough that it keeps you in check. And so they did a really good job of the way they tuned this, because there are still a lot of vehicles these days that really just cut power and just totally throw a wet blanket on the experience, you know, whenever the conditions aren't ideal. But this, not the case. It really works with you and lets you work through those suboptimal conditions. And while we're stuck behind a slow car here, one other thing I want to mention that's not performance related is this Akg Stereo. It's a 16 speaker stereo, and it is really good. I love these Akg stereos on all these Cadillacs. The one in the Escalade is mind-blowing. It's like my favorite stereo in the car industry in general right now. It's just amazing. And this is really impressive. Obviously, you don't have as much you know, real estate to work with as far as speaker placement and stuff as the Escalade, but this still sounds amazing, and it's one of the best stereos I've encountered in a sedan for sure. It is really super good. And so, you know, whenever you're sitting behind boring traffic, or you're cruising on the highway, or sitting in a drive-through line or something, having this awesome stereo cranked up with, you know, all your favorite tunes, it really is another audio treat, in addition to the awesome experience of hearing this gnarly engine. Which, by the way, sport mode doesn't even make it at its loudest setting. This is like the setting right below the loudest one. Still plenty of volume, and just still feels so good. But yeah, I'm just managing the back end the whole time in this thing. And I love that. I love that. I mean, obviously, if you're getting one of these things, you want a rear-wheel drive experience. That's what sets this apart from the M5s and all the other stuff out there that's all-wheel drive and more sanitized. This is more of an animal. You're buying it because you want an animal, and it delivers on that experience. Again, especially whenever you have some less than sticky tires on it. And I still love all the crackles and pops you got here. I'm up against the wall and I have the window cracked all the way down the rev range. Got a little bit of a tunnel here. Yeah, this thing's so good. I wish it wasn't wintertime so I could just appreciate this sound with the windows down all the time, but man, even with windows up, you can still hear all those crackles and pops and that glorious V8 sound. It never ever got old this week. I just wanted to keep hearing it over and over and over again. One last thing I'll add is that I've been doing some highway cruising here right before I give this vehicle back, and I gotta say, I love this thing as a highway cruiser because you have so much power. Whenever you're going to pass someone, you can accomplish passes so quickly and efficiently. It's like even faster than some electric vehicles with how I can just like hit the gas and I'm just like making my pass nice and quick. You just, you know, get in and out. You just slice and dice in highway traffic with this thing really easily because it's just so powerful, and just the way it gains speed so quickly is really nice, especially on the highway too. And the other two things I'm going to mention here is just the pricing and my fuel economy over the week here. So these are rated at 13 mpg in the city, 21 on the highway, and 16 combined. And in my driving here, I've been averaging 12.5 mpg, which honestly isn't bad given the context that, you know, I usually actually get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating in most of my reviews here whenever I'm driving around for a week. And it's cold in the winter, so that also usually drags it down. And the fact that I've been hooning this thing around and driving it a lot harder than I typically drive a normal press vehicle around. So honestly, I'm impressed with 12.5 mpg. I know that's a wild thing to say, but I'm impressed by that. It's just for the amount of power, again, 668 horsepower, 659 pound-feet of torque, 3.4 seconds 0 to 60. Obviously, you're spending 100 grand on one of these things. Fuel economy should not be a concern. I just wanted to point out, just for kicks, you know, what I got here in my week. But lastly, you know, the pricing, which I think is kind of irrelevant. I touched on this in my, you know, original review as well, but it's, you know, it's a vehicle that's going to go down in history as one of the all-time greats, and it's also going to go down as a collectible, especially if you get a manual transmission version. But even the automatics here are going to be very highly sought after forever. I will count myself as one of those people that will hope that someday these things either get affordable enough that I can afford them, or that my income comes up enough so that I can afford one of these someday, because I absolutely do want one of these. It is the ultimate sedan, but beyond just the sedan thing even, or the luxury thing, it's one of the most fun cars I've ever driven, full stop. Like, no disclaimers needed, no, you know, caveats here. It's just, of all the cars I've reviewed over the past 10 years, you know, I can probably count on one hand how many have made me this giddy and excited every single time I've gotten into it, and they've been so addicting that I've just wanted to do this kind of stuff in it. I mean, and then it's well-rounded, and then it's not, you know, as much of a sacrifice as like a Hellcat. You still have a super nice interior. I have a massaging seat. I have all the tech. I have all the handling I could ever want. I have everything. It literally does everything, aside from maybe if you want to go climb a mountain in the middle of the winter. But aside from that, you know, as far as, you know, verbal drive stuff goes, hands down, one of the best cars I've ever driven. I absolutely love it. Like I said, it blew my mind at the track a year and a half ago. I loved driving the manual last year too. Definitely check out that review for all my thoughts on that one as well. But what a special car these things are. I absolutely love them, and I will say one last time, I wholeheartedly support anyone that can afford one of these things. If you're even remotely tempted by it, go for it. It will not disappoint you. It will blow your mind, and basically I can guarantee this will over deliver on what you're expecting out of it. It is just that good, and I absolutely love it. I can't give this thing higher praise. Like I said, if I could afford it, I would buy one myself and give it the ultimate compliment. But I mean, it's just, I absolutely love this thing to death. And yes, it will be sad to see it go, but I'm so glad that, you know, again, this is the 2023 model year. This is, you know, a second model year here of it. No real changes for 2023, but just glad it's continuing on here. They're continuing to build them, and hopefully, you know, keep up with demand decently well. And I just hope they continue to build them as long as they possibly can. But anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on my week with the CT5-V Blackwing. Let me know your thoughts on these in the comments below. Be sure to, again, watch the full review if you haven't. It was a ton of fun. And if you can't afford this, but you still want a glorious manual transmission, verbal drive, luxury sports sedan, the Cadillac CT5-V Blackwing I spent a week with just a few months ago as well. Another fantastic experience with that twin-turbo V6, so definitely check that out as well. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.